Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nancy Ridley, Finance Director for the City of Mount Pleasant. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this special presentation on the City Commission's proposed 2011 budget plan. By now, most residents should have received a special edition Connections newsletter in your mailbox that summarizes the plan. If not, this document can be found online at City Hall or at Veterans Memorial Library. Let's start with a brief history of the situation that City of Mount Pleasant faces. City staff was aware of a potential budget problem a few years ago. In 2007 and 2008, we told the public and the City Commission that although we had balanced budgets each of those years, we were concerned about the future as the declines in the economy and the state budget began to more directly impact our city. In the summer of 2009, we presented our analogy of the coming financial storm and gave a perspective of our readiness. Part of our readiness centered on a projection that our 2011 fiscal year is when we would begin to see the impacts from the storm. We also determined that we needed to begin preparing early so that we had a well thought out plan based on public input. This presentation is intended to inform you of the 2011 plan that has been developed by the staff and commission so that you have an opportunity to provide input prior to the final decisions being made. Today, I, along with City Manager Kathy Grinzinger, will walk you through the plan and outline the various methods available for you to provide feedback. Creating each year's operating budget is a delicate balancing act of providing the right level of funding for the right services needed by our residents. The largest component of the city's annual operating budget is the general fund. The general fund covers a wide variety of mandatory and desirable services that our residents rely on. These include police and fire services, which make up approximately 55% of the fund's expenses, community services such as parks and recreation programs, public works funding for sidewalks and street lighting, and much more. The general fund is financed with 50% of its revenues from property taxes, approximately 25% from state shared revenue, and the remaining 25% from fees and other charges. Over the past decade, income to this fund has decreased due to the economic conditions of the state. The primary factor impacting the general fund budget is a loss in state shared revenue. This revenue is the portion of collected state sales tax that should be returned to communities. Since 2001, Mount Pleasant has seen a drop of $1.2 million in state shared revenue. For the 2010 operating budget, general fund expenses are estimated to be $12.3 million, of which the city will use $200,000 from its surplus savings account to cover some of the costs. Our projections for 2011 show that the general fund will have a shortfall of roughly $1 million. To make up this difference, the city must make a variety of changes to the general fund's expenses and sources of revenue. These changes must also be sustainable for more than 1 or 2 years because the state will likely not increase the amount of state shared revenue returned to us, and tax revenues will not increase unless property is built. Throughout the development of this plan, our goal was to work through this economic challenge while providing excellence and value for our residents. This will allow us to position ourselves to recover by attracting new businesses and new residents. Therefore, whatever we do, we must maintain a community that feels safe, that has a dependable infrastructure, that can invest in economic health, and that retains our sense of community vitality, or those things that make us unique and desirable. Our preferred method was to balance the budget by a 4-pronged approach. We investigated operational changes found by departmental teams, looked at reallocating revenues from one function to another, investigated fee increases, and recommended service and position reductions. Each recommendation comes with an expected level of impact on our residents. This presentation will give you details on each of those recommendations and how you are likely to be impacted. The first prong in our effort to balance 2011's budget calls for operational changes. These changes alter how we conduct our business processes, but will have little to no impact on residents. They are comprised of reductions in staff overtime and postage costs, savings on utilities and building maintenance, changes to the vehicle fleet, and a reorganization of the information technology internal services. It is estimated that we can save roughly $94,000 by implementing these changes. The second piece of our four-pronged approach for the proposed 2011 budget calls for the reallocation of revenue to support operations. The current capital improvement millage raises approximately $740,000 per year, and these funds are used to repair and maintain streets and sidewalks, provide grant matches, provide park improvements, and purchase other large items like generators. The proposed 2011 budget plan suggests funds from the capital improvement millage be reallocated into the general fund. This will leave approximately $600,000 for infrastructure repairs and replacements. Reallocating these funds from the capital improvement millage will result in a greater focus on maintaining our infrastructure instead of new improvements. This recommendation also calls for the use of some surplus saving funds to supplement capital projects in 2011. In total, these allocations would add up to $200,000 for the city's general fund. Also suggested is the reduction of the Tax Increment Finance Authority capture of tax dollars in our University Park District by 10%. Similar to the capital improvement millage, these funds are used to initiate improvement projects within the designated district. Shifting these funds will result in a greater focus on infrastructure maintenance and will limit improvements in the district. If the capture is reduced in University Park by 10%, this will give the city $15,000 more in revenue. This number, teamed with the capital improvement reallocation, totals $215,000 in reallocated revenues. The third prong, which calls for some fee increases, consists of 4 recommendations. The plan recommends the price of garbage bags and tags be increased by 50 cents to a price of $2 per bag or tag. When the bag tag program began, it was always intended that the price would cover the cost of the service to encourage greater recycling. The last increase was in 2001, and the millage for processing recyclables has been subsidizing the cost of waste removal since 2006. This fee increase will bring in an estimated $63,000 and make the waste program self-supporting once again. In the summer of 2010, parking meters near CMU's campus may increase in price to 50 cents per hour from the current 25 cents per hour to match CMU's rate. We will also be installing 40 new meters on Bellows when the road is reconfigured this year. In 2011, the city is considering placing meters on West Campus Drive as well. These changes will result in $26,000 more revenue for the city's general fund. The last increase for rental housing inspection licensing fees was in 2005, and consideration is being given to a 10% across-the-board increase to these fees. This fee is required for all rental property owners within the city and covers costs relating to the inspection of the housing licensing code requirements. A 10% increase would bring in approximately $13,000 in revenue. An increase in recreation fees is recommended for non-city residents only. Roughly 1/2 of all of our registrations for recreation programs are by non-residents. By increasing this fee, the taxpayer subsidy for recreation programs will be reduced. The actual revenue generated will be dependent on registrations, but is estimated at $8,000. The next part of the plan results in actual service reductions that the community will see. City Manager Kathy Grinzinger is here to outline what each service reduction will entail and how they will affect you as a resident.
Local governments exist to provide security, safety, and the kind of quality services residents cannot provide for themselves if they had to go it alone. Police and fire departments with emergency response vehicles, snow plowing services during rough Michigan winters, and parks with ball diamonds and swing sets are among the list of amenities we all want but could never afford if we had to do them by ourselves. Because we are built to serve, no municipality wants to be in a place where services that are important and valuable to citizens are cut back, even when revenues begin to fall. As Finance Director Ridley said, the city's income has been going down steadily for years. Because we saw it coming and were able to reduce our cost each of those years, we stayed ahead of the curve without our residents feeling so much as a bump in the road. When the gap gets close to $1 million, however, there's no way to avoid the fact that everyone will experience some kind of impact if our goal is to keep our community healthy and financially stable. The plan we are rolling out for you today includes service reductions in 8 primary areas and eliminates 8 positions. All the job reductions can be handled by retirements, however. Let me walk you through each of those areas. By changing the way we pick up fall leaves, we can reduce the workload of the street department. To accomplish cost savings, leaf pickup will need to start later in the fall, and fewer pickups will be scheduled in each neighborhood. This will result in a savings of roughly $20,000. Reductions in public works will impact snow plowing around the city. We're recommending that plow trucks be called in on overtime only after 4 inches of snow has fallen. The rule used to be 2 inches. That only major streets be plowed on an overtime basis unless there's a declared snow emergency, and that local neighborhood streets be only plowed during the regular work day. Snow plowing changes, along with other departmental reductions, will save another $50,000. Reductions in the Building Safety Department will mean that 2 full-time positions will be reduced and an on-call contracted inspector will be used. Therefore, we may not be able to accommodate walk-in customers for building plan reviews. Same-day inspections will not be possible. It will take longer to issue building permits, and responses to code complaints will be delayed. An estimated savings of $113,000 is expected in this area. In the fire department, 1 full-time position in the fire prevention office will be eliminated, along with an on-call fire responder position. If that occurs, commercial inspections will be delayed and new construction plan reviews will take longer. Rental housing complaint response will be delayed. Public education and prevention programs will be eliminated, including school programs, open houses, and tours. The process of handling code compliance checks will change as well. These reductions will save $85,000. In the police department, overtime will be reduced and 1 position in the Detective Bureau will be eliminated. This would mean that some crime investigation work will need to be absorbed by patrol officers. Investigation of major crimes will compete with pending calls for service, and community partnership work will be curtailed. Finally, time spent by officers on routine patrol will be reduced. An estimated $95,000 can be saved through these changes. By eliminating 1 position and reorganizing the public safety records functions, you will notice that the office hours at the public safety building will be reduced. Some clerical functions will be shifted to the firefighters and police officers. Responsiveness to rental licensing questions will likely change. $49,000 can be saved by implementing these changes. Many seasonal and part-time positions will be eliminated in the recreation department, which means that several programs must be canceled. Among those will be Access Recreation, most teen programming, tennis leagues, summer soccer, youth golf, and special events such as the Corn Maze, Earth Day, and Punt, Pass, and Kick. These cuts will result in another $90,000 in savings. The assessing department will be reduced by 1 position. That could mean that more calls will go directly to voicemail. The office will likely be vacant during border review, summer, and December fieldwork times. Questions, research, and requests for assistance will likely be delayed, and some inspections will be conducted by a contracted service firm. $45,000 will be saved once these reductions are implemented. The changes presented in operational changes, revenue reallocation, fee increases, and service changes will allow the city to fill $966,000 of the $1 million projected shortfall to the general fund. The City Commission is considering filling the remaining gap with funds from the city's surplus savings account. Using savings is not a long-term solution, of course, so the city will have to continue to scrutinize its expenses and revenues into the future. Remember when Nancy told you that shifting between the services a community wants and what they're willing to pay is a delicate balancing act? Well, what you've just heard is one way to tip the scales. What is important now is finding out how the residents of Mount Pleasant think it should be done. We are asking for your input on the 2011 budget plan. Please consider joining us at a town hall meeting scheduled for Tuesday, June 1st in the historic Borden Building, which is City Hall, at 6:30 p.m. All residents are invited to come and offer opinions on the plan to close a near $1 million gap in the city's general fund. If you are unable to join us at this meeting, there are still plenty of other options to make sure your voice is heard. You can submit your comments online through the city's website. You can call us at 779-5322 or mail your thoughts to the city manager's office at 320 West Broadway, Mount Pleasant, Michigan. We have every intention of emerging from Michigan's economic downturn stronger and healthier than ever. Please let us know how you think we should ride out this storm. Thank you.